Hey everybody, today we're going to do a review of multiplying fractions and mixed numbers. A few of these problems show you the multiplication of a fraction on a number line, and this is an interesting way to represent the problem. Remember that for some of these, in order to get a correct answer, you're going to need to put your product in simplest form. Okay, the directions tell us that the model shows the product of 7 and 1/5. When we see the word product, we should immediately think of the answer to a multiplication expression. So down here they show us that 7 times 1/5 equals, and then they have two blank spots for you. So what the number line is showing us is that if you start at 0 and then add 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5, not only is that the same as 7 times 1/5, but also it's just showing us that when you do that repeated addition, you're going to land on 7/5. Now the directions on this Google form tell us to put the product in simplest form. 7/5 is an improper fraction. So I can break that up using a number bond. 7/5 is composed of 5/5 plus 2/5. 5/5 is the same as 1 whole with 2/5 left over. So 7/5 is equivalent to 1 and 2/5. That's how I want you to put your answer on the Google form. Okay, now number 2 says that this model is showing the product of 1/5 and 5. So here we can see that 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5, that's the same as 1/5 times 5. How would you type 5/5 in simplest form on your Google form? Hopefully you know by now that 5/5 is the same as 1 whole. So that one should be pretty easy. You guys can do number 3 on your own. I'm not going to teach that one. Here we have an interesting twist. This model shows the product of 1/2 and a whole number whose value we don't know yet. Your job is to figure out the value of that whole number, meaning how many groups of 1/2 will eventually get you 9/2. To do this, try counting the hops of 1/2 on your number line. How many times did we hop in order to land on 9/2? That number is going to be your mystery number here. For number 5, I'm going to let you solve this one on your own, but I'm just going to give you a reminder to make sure to put your answer in simplest form. If the numerator and the denominator of your fraction have a factor in common, then you need to divide by that factor that they both share in order to put the fraction in simplest form. So for example, if your answer was 5/10, which it won't be, but just as an example, 5 and 10 both have the factor of 5 in common, so I'd have to divide both of them by their factor that they share. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So 5/10 in simplest form is 1/2. If I had something like 8/10, I would divide both of those by 2. The factor that they have in common is 2. And that would give me 4/5. If you're not immediately sure what factor two numbers have in common, then take a few minutes to list the factors off to the side. So I can list factors for 16 and 32 here. Look at both of these lists. At first glance, you might think that the factor they share is 8. But actually, 16 is the biggest number that they share in common, or the biggest factor that they have in common. So for this one, I would divide both my numerator and my denominator by 16. So in simplest form, I would have 1/2. Okay, now remember, these were just examples. The answer to this question is a fraction that we haven't discussed. I'm going to let you figure that one out on your own. Okay, now we're going to multiply these two mixed numbers. The easiest way to do this is to convert both mixed numbers to improper fractions. So in order to do that, multiply and then add. We're going to multiply our denominator times our whole number amount and then add the numerator. So it's kind of like going in a circle all around your fraction. So 2 times 1 plus 1 more. That gives me 4 halves. No, 3 halves, sorry. Okay, so 3 halves times, now do the same thing here, 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 more, gives me 14 thirds. Your denominator stays the same. Now I can multiply straight across my numerators. And straight across my denominators. Last, I need to divide to put this back into simplest form. And I know that 42 divided by 6 is 7. So altogether, 1/2 times 4 2/3 is 7. Okay, now for this last one, go ahead and multiply these two mixed numbers. You can do this one on your own. Make sure to put your answer in simplest form, and let me know if you have any questions.